Big news from the FlyByWire team, and you want to get the FlyByWire A320Nx development version downloaded right now. Here's why. Hello YouTube, I'm Pilot Stud and welcome back to another Microsoft Flight Simulator video. Now today we're doing a quick little video on the news and software that FlyByWire released last night. We'll be running through what it brings and why it is important. If you're new around here, be sure to stick around to stay up to date with the latest Microsoft Flight Simulator news and reviews, as well as other aviation videos. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to tell me in the comments, and if you really love it, be sure to hit that like button. But now let's get into it. So moving away from Microsoft Flight Simulator, let me just run through, for those who don't understand, how the FlyByWire development goes. Basically, on the FlyByWire installer, you have the A320Nx and also their work in progress A380 that they haven't released anything for yet. You get three versions of the A320Nx. You get the stable version, you get the development version, and you get the experimental version. Now if you're not bothered about the newest features and you just want a sturdy aircraft to fly around in, then I recommend the stable version. It's on version 0.6 at the moment. It's still a work in progress, they still update it, but all the features in there are secure and the chance of your sim crashing or there being any bugs is very slim. On the other side of that spectrum, we've got the experimental version, where of course the FlyByWire team test out new features. You take that risk of downloading the experimental version because of course it's in the name, it's experimental. However, that is the place to get the newest features, and I do generally recommend taking that risk. I don't normally have much issue with it, but if you do, then I'd recommend the development version. Now the development version is a nice mixture really. It's more of the stable experimental features that have been integrated and secured. There's less bugs, but it's not 100% there yet, so it's not the stable version. Sounds confusing, but trust me, it's pretty simple. My go-to is basically the development version. Hopping back into the cockpit, let me explain what FlyByWire have done. Basically, they've moved the majority of features from the experimental version into the development version. Let's run through what this brings. So externally, you won't see a massive difference. The real thing here is what lies in the systems, what lies behind those glass panels. Let's run through them. So first of all, hopping into the cockpit, and when you're starting the aircraft up, you'll notice that the primary flight display looks a lot different. They've of course got plenty of new systems in there. It's a lot more lifelike, a lot more like the real world A320. In addition to that, you'll also notice that the screen looks a lot crisper, especially when you zoom out. Of course, those of you who have been using the experimental version will be familiar with these changes, but those of you who have been running the stable version or development version, well, you won't be. They've brought their custom fly-by-wire systems into this version. This makes a massive difference on takeoff. Trust me. Now, of course, it's still a work in progress, and they do say it's not yet study level. You may be wondering, what does this consist of? Well, basically, they've introduced stuff like normal law, rotation law, realistic yaw damper. As I said, this is more for takeoff and landing. You might feel a slight difference in cruise, but overall, you're really going to feel this in takeoff and landing. They brought over their custom autopilot systems from the experimental version. This is a must-have if you're flying on VATSIM, because the default autopilot in Microsoft Flight Simulator is temperamental, to describe it at best. They do say that you need 17 FPS constantly for autopilot to run correctly, otherwise you may encounter some problems. Most of you will be familiar with their autopilot already. You've probably tried it out on the experimental version. Moving over, if you're not familiar with the FlyPad, you truly are missing out. They brought over some features into this version that affect the FlyPad, and these are actually something I haven't actually seen before. If you go into settings by clicking the setting cog in the top right corner, you can see we've got throttle settings down here. If you click calibrate, you can, you guessed it, calibrate your throttle. Now I'm actually going to do this now because I haven't done it yet, so it's going to be some fun. Now if you want a more comprehensive tutorial, I think British AvGeek has done a fantastic tutorial on this. I'm just going to quickly time-lapse it, and I'll point you to his video if you want to watch his tutorial. So there we have it. My throttle was basically fine, but if you are experiencing any issues, you can of course calibrate it. The great thing about my throttle is that it's got reversers, as you can see. It means I don't have to press any buttons. You might be able to hear it. I can just pull back on my throttle and it basically acts as a button, and that will toggle reverse thrust for me. It's a lot of fun. Many of you will be familiar with many of the other features in the electronic flight bag, such as the fantastic ground handling. I mean, this is a lot of fun. This was of course in the development version anyway, I believe. Now you may be wondering, what does this mean for the experimental version? Well, it's simple. And FlyByWire told us exactly what they plan on using it for. It will be used as a new prototype which will allow them to test out and progress with their flight plan manager and LNAV, testing around with more autopilot, specifically LNAV and VNAV stuff. Overall, it is a massive step. FlyByWire, they are honestly doing such a great job. And of course, they're now working with the Asobo and Microsoft team, so we may see the aircraft on the marketplace for free, of course, to download soon. And on top of this, the working title team are also working with the FlyByWire team for the development of the upcoming LNAV and VNAV systems. It is something to certainly look forward to, and we'll definitely see that on the experimental version in the not so distant future. To wrap this video up, what has happened that is so big? Basically, we've seen all of the amazing features from the experimental version and on the development version be mixed together to create a more realistic and more perfect aircraft. It's not perfect at all, it's still a work in progress, but it's more perfect. It's something to shout about, it's something to go and fly, it's something to really enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed this video, taking you through some of the features with the new FlyByWire development version. It is a big step in the right direction, and it's certainly something to shout about. Thank you for watching this video, guys. I hope you've really enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, be sure to give it a like and of course comment down below for more Microsoft Flight Simulator videos. Thank you to my first class and business class channel members. If you want to become a channel member to get exclusive perks, be sure to click that blue join button next to my name. But for me today, that is all. Bye bye.